Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Frame by Frame podcast. I'm your host this evening, along with Will. I'm Zach, obviously. I won't give our full names anymore. I think we're past that into season 2. It's fine. You can look us up on LinkedIn via our Frame by Frame, or just look in our podcast description. We're listed there. Today we are covering one of my favorite subjects. Huge fanboy of these. Design systems. The longer working designers will have more understanding that are listening to this, and for the newer people, you could probably learn something, or at least learn something about the importance of a design system and everything around them. There's a really great book all of you could read if you're more interested, and it's called Atomic Design. It's by Brad Frost. It's super great. Design system read. It's so good. It basically goes into just breaking things down to an atomic level. Like, if you're going to have a badge, you have a red circle, and that is your atom. And then you're adding a text to it, which is another atom, and now you're making a molecule. And then you build these molecules into full your component at the end. It's an item then. It's a really good way to think about design systems, or to even start wrapping your head around how you can build them or organize them. While Brad Frost did write this book, he also is a big advocate for a global design system. So one global system that everybody can draw from. There's definitely benefits to that, because as we get into this subject for our talk today, they're very time consuming. And if you start a new project and you are the lead designer, or they don't have a design system, it's a brand new product, you will find yourself redoing things you've already done for another project, except the colors are different or the font is different. It's nothing that's ever... I mean, sometimes, you'll get really crazy ideas or crazy designs in there, or just stuff that you haven't dealt with before. But I mean, most of it is 8 rounded corners or 12 rounded corners, and your basic white that isn't all white, because you never want a pure white. So design systems in general, for those of you who don't know, it's basically it's kind of like a branding catalog. If any of you are familiar with graphic design or any sort of design, when a company wants their brand to be able to be handed off to somebody easily, like, let's say we'll use Red Bull for an example, because we're not sponsored by them, but I am drinking one today. They used to hand out a book, like literally a magazine. And when I was learning graphic design, you learned to design these guides. Here's your branding guide. Here's your colors. These are what your colors do. This is how this should look. This is, if you put it on products, it should be placed here, here, here. You're developing the rules for this brand. And your design system is no different. However, in our current technologies, a lot of things are very, very, very similar as far as measurements and other things go. And so the global design system is your window in to making it easier. But I mean, for the beginner guys out there, you pick up a UI kit. It's literally a cut and dry, no frills design system. There's no rules to it other than the rules of that particular UI system. And you can adapt them to your personal brand or your personal product that you're making for the company. And I recommend looking into a lot of different UI kits and how they're built. Like, that's the biggest thing with design systems. Look at how they're put together. It's a library. It's for everybody to look at. That's why they used to be magazines, because you could look at the index and be like, okay, we want to run, at that time it was like radio ads and television ads. How should the voice be? What should the tone be? What should our, if it's the radio, music, if it's TV, our lighting, how do we want to come off? And so So you could, if you were sales, you could literally look up directly what you were looking for. And now digitally, our products they're not always dealt with by just the designer. They're dealt with by the sales guy. They're dealt with by the developers. They're dealt with by marketing, everything. And, things get a little confusing as you're playing a game of telephone every day, at least in my position. I'm talking to a documentation person, I'm talking to designers, I'm talking to developers, I'm talking to stakeholders. And after a while, you're the one telling everybody, but somebody mishears something or something gets a little, not that it's totally misunderstood, but words get changed. And then later there's confusion and you're getting phone calls you shouldn't even have by the same people that you just talked to because they're like, well, I heard it was this way, or what's going on with this? And okay, so here's the deal. You're going to go here. And originally I used the Material 3 design system. And then I wasn't a fan of a lot of stuff they have. And since I'm well-versed in Illustrator, I just went to town on like illustrations and different styles of buttons. I ended up with a Material 3 button because it's clean. It looks good. It's really close to iOS buttons. And we're using Flutter, so it can go in between. Well, now if somebody has a question, I used to just guide them to, okay, it's the Material 3 design system. And as things started getting more custom, I had to build a design system. There had to be a source of truth for everybody in the company to look at, so there was no confusion. Like, it was the place to go. That's not always still the case. There's a lot of work that goes into maintaining your design system. But for the time we have on our show today, I won't get too in depth unless there's questions specifically about things. They're huge, but they're really, really, really important. I mean, we had an episode the other day about communicating with your dev. This is primary example of using communication with your devs. If you're very clear in a design system or even in your UI kit, if you start adding notes to things, your developers know why they're using it. They're knowing where it should be used. They know everything about that thing. And the more you customize it, you have to update. You have to tell them you have to do these things. From a company-wide standpoint, your developers are also giving you things like you can get code snippets put in your design system. So if there's a button next to it, I have the code snippet. And if somebody has a question, I can guide them to it or send it to them. I personally,
when you say code snippet, do you mean like the customized HTML and CSS to build it?
Yeah. So like next to my colors, some people don't, because in developer mode, you can click on things and it'll tell you. But to make things very visual and upfront, I went the further step, and I not only have those descriptions available in the sidebar, I have them available when you click on the component itself as a description, and I have a description next to that component laid out as if it were a magazine. So as you go to each of my pages, things are front and center, and then the description is there. You can read all about it, and there's links everywhere to our Figma, to our Confluence. Anything you need is right there. And then I went one step further, and I went into Confluence, and I built our Confluence to mirror Figma by embedding our Figma. So if I change a component, it's automatically updated. I just then have to go in and change the description in Confluence. If there's an easier way for anybody listening, tell me, because if I could update the descriptions as well, that'd be great. But yeah, so my developers can go in and look at anything they need. There's still questions, obviously. Nothing is 100% clear all the time. But my owner of the company can also go in and see the colors and see why we chose that color and why we're using it. Or if he has a question about button placement, I can explain the size of the button, where it's placed, why it's done this way. And then he's better able to explain that to investors or anybody else he's talking with. And then the same goes for sales. You'll have way less problem with people saying things exist in your product that don't, they're not even close. And so they can go in and get that information. And I actually have in our Confluence at the very top, when you first come in, there's a global search through our entire Confluence for information you could be looking for. Underneath that is links to the different departments in our company. And then if you click those, it'll tell you on one half of the screen, it's a blip about that department, the people in that department, and who to get a hold of for whatever. And then on the other side, it's the basically their guide. It's like your sales. Okay, here's what you need for logos. Here's where you can place logos. Here's the colors. Here's everything you need to know. There's nothing outside of that that you should, have to bring up or say is there, because it's not there. This is exactly what's there. Marketing as well. They can't say like we have a magic goat. Like it's not in the system. You can't tell them. But gives me ideas. Yeah. So you can get as deep as you want with them or as shallow as you want with them. The thing is, the more shallow, the more problems. It seems quicker to be able to fix things because there's only 5 of them and the descriptions are really short. It's just what I needed to design it. And it's like, that's great. But what happens when your developer is really unsure on something? It's good to have the links to a GitHub so they can have their code. Yeah,
How did your understanding or mental model of a design language system or design system change going from bootcamp into actual full-time? Because I'm still working off of my bootcamp understanding of it, because I don't really have one because I'm working at a startup and where it's just me and the founder.
So because of the curriculum I know that you went through, you got a basic understanding of like a design guide. Like you got a basic understanding of how to do a guide, like what to put in there and how to do things. They touched on design systems and just said it was an expanded version. It's like, until you really dive deep, like expanded it's not even the word to use for it. It's not even close, because it's like, it's the library people go to. And I made a very junior mistake when I first undertook a design system project, and it was just for myself. I was like, oh, that won't take me that long. It's a great example to have in my portfolio that I can deal with them. I know how to structure them. I know what to do with them. And it was not quick. It never got finished. And it's still sitting in my Figma because it takes forever. And like the UI was custom UI. I didn't use a UI kit to build off of, because I, at that time, was like, I did graphic design. I can do this. It's fine. I'll do the UI kit and then I'll kind of explain what it is. No, it gets crazy. But my understanding of them has grown more in the last year than, I mean, I had experience with design guides or marketing guides and branding guides. But a design system is about as complex as you can get, because you can also map out and make tokens for everything. So my developers, if they go in the code, yes, we use the same hex code color for 20 different things. If they change that hex code in code to change the color and they only wanted to change it on one button, well, now they have to go find that button. So in your design system, you build that along that's a great example. You build your colors into tokens and aliases and other things. Figma's getting better at incorporating that variation. So it becomes all about naming. You're literally like the librarian. You're messing with the cards and filing everything where it should go. So yeah, they'll take our hex code and then write like sea sparkle green, I think is the color we're actually using right now. And then they'll take sea sparkle green and then put like in their code, then they know, okay, it's not just a header card and it's not a horizontal card. It is a base card. And so they'll write that in, base card / whatever. And then it's like they put in the color hex. So later when they come back in and they're like, all these cards need to change, they find that snippet of code and it's gone. Like it's changed over, but every other color of that same hex colors, it remains because it doesn't carry the same structure. Yeah, design systems are really, really deep. And the more I dig, it's kind of like, it's the worst rabbit hole I've ever been lost in. Like, yeah, I love it. I love design systems. It's actually a goal of mine that in the future I would prefer to take another job where I don't care if I'm designing it myself or if I'm just maintaining a design system and helping with a design system. I really enjoy the work. There's a lot of thought that goes behind it, and it's its own design style. Does that make sense? Like you could do a design system any way you want. It doesn't mean it has to be built in Figma. It's just, as a designer working on a project, that's the easiest way. But for overall documentation, like for a full design system, you should have way more than your Figma in there. It should be every bit of information you can get and easily linked and easily, again, it's like a portfolio. You have to lay things out so it's easy to find, easy to read, and get what you want out of it. So I'm not going to be so anal about design systems that I change my portfolio. Like that's just not that's not what I want to show people. But that's not a bad idea. And then you made a comment one time. I did write it down, and it was the parenting, a design system for parenting. Yeah, that's my next lifelong project. At some point, I will have a book, Design System for Parents, or something like that. That's fun. So, but yeah,
I would love to sit down and really build one out for my current company, Prentice. But it is nowhere near the top of our list of priorities.
That's yeah. See,
I have a mountain of things I have to do first.
No, that's a huge thing. That's a really big misunderstanding, I think, by some juniors who maybe are excited about design systems the way I am, or maybe that's what they're interested in. And this was just a step to get there, is going through a boot camp or something. I will state right now that a design system is not a light undertaking. And when you do it, you're either, it's a huge, it sucks time. So unless if you're the only designer at a company, that is not to be your first priority. Your first priority should be solving the problem first. Secondly,
and learn everything about the product.
Yeah, that should be your focus. Is like, that product is yours. That is your thing. Especially if you're a designer, even if you're not the lead designer, at some point you could potentially be. If that's your goal, then do it. Like, just work towards it. But it shouldn't be your main focus to work on a design system. And especially if you're alone on a project, your thing should be learn the product, learn the people you're designing it for, and learn the customers of the people you're designing it for. And once you really have a grasp of that information, you can have a solution. From that solution, you can build a UI kit, or even you might have one first. Sometimes that's the case. It's like, we have a look we want, now we just need the solution. That's fine. Because that look already exists, you have one less step to take. You're not having to design then the UI, but the solution always should come first. And then the UI stuff is there, and now you're building on it. You're going to take each one of those things in your UI kit. Let's say it's a badge again. Take that badge and you're going to place it to the side. You can give, like in mine, every component has its own page. So all buttons belong on a page, all cards belong on a page, and they're all sectioned off in there inside. So we have horizontal cards and expandable cards and base cards and a million different styles of cards, but they all have general rules. So that's going to be your thing, is pull apart that UI kit. And if you want to practice or work on learning how to do design systems, take a simple UI kit. Don't take what is that, unlimited UI or whatever, that huge, it's
Untitled
massive.
UI.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I got to it when it was free, and I used it for some inspiration on some dashboard elements, but that was it.
They have really nice icons. I do like their icons. And yes, now it is paid. Yeah. But there's a lot of people offering, even if they are paid, some super cheap UI kits or free UI kits. Get one. Use it for this, even example screens of something that, if you're not practicing problem solving, practice your descriptions. So think of an idea in your head, at least get 4 screens for it and some basic functionality. And then you take those elements and then you describe why you're using them there, why that color is there. If they have a animation or a micro interaction, explain why you're using that micro interaction. It doesn't have to completely contribute to the solution, but at the same time, I like to explain micro interactions like this. If you're going to use a micro interaction, it's not that it's solving any problem. It's actually just helping people stay with your solution, because it makes it fun to use. It's something different, something new. Drop downs. Everybody uses the hamburger menu, and I've seen people twist it into X's and do whatever they want with it. That's all cool, man. But if you have a brand and a cool logo, or a lot of logos actually work really well for this. take a little extra time and do some design study or experimentation and use that for their drop down. I've done that a million times, and you solve two problems with that. Your hamburger menu looks way better, and it's not standard, and it's a logo which people are used to clicking on from the web or even on their phone. So now you've just solved a problem. How do you keep a company's recognition, or how easily recognizable they are, and not need a home button on a website? And you also get rid of the ugly, stupid hamburger menu that we just keep spitting out over and over again. And now you can animate that. You can make it look different. You can even just leave a drop down off of it. But if that's the action they're clicking, think about the subconscious programming you're doing with people. I know it sounds really bad, but it's the way products work.
Yeah.
If I have to click your products, your company's name, the identity of this product, if I have to click that every time I need to open a menu, of course I'm going to see that logo somewhere, and I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. It's not a thing. You're working towards being McDonald's at that point. My kids rarely eat McDonald's, but they know what those arches are. Like, it's crazy. So yeah, but that's part of a design system. You will explain why a hamburger menu is now a logo and what that logo does, and if it's a micro interaction, how it works and why. That's the biggest thing. Why did we do this? Yeah.
So for me, in my work, I have some things built out. Like Bubble has a section where you can go into styles and look at every style you have for everything. So button styles, text styles, container styles, everything. Only tricky part is we don't have any whys written out for anything. Because, when I came in, it was just the founder who had built it. And so he didn't really need to write down everything because it was just him. And so I don't have whys anywhere. I have all these styles, and I look at other parts of the app that I'm trying to replicate for screens I'm working on. I see what styles they're using. I'm like, all right, these ones. These are the ones I'm going to use for this new page. But other than that, I don't have any whys, and the whys would be wildly helpful.
Isn't that crazy? Like, if you're using something all the time,
and I definitely don't have the time to write them.
Right. And it's like, what things do, why it's there, but that's you. So if you have to give it to somebody else, it's just really helpful to have it there. And at some point in a project, if you're on it long enough or doing enough in that project, you will forget why. Sometimes it's like, we have this there. I know what it does, but I don't remember why exactly this was chosen anymore. It was so long ago. And so noting those things down, even if it's just a tiny little note at first, like your bare bones poor man's design system is literally like, I'm just going to put a text space in Figma next to this component so I know the why. And I've had our other Nerea, I've had her look through our system a couple times where she's looking at stuff, and she's like, she'll actually embellish those notes sometimes. She's like, okay, I know the why, and I've been using it, and now I'm at this component, and I see whenever there was a text space but there was an explanation. And sometimes she'll add to it, or she'll just put it in a nice card, because I go through our Figma now like I'm a madman. Sometimes I just run through, and if I see something, I'm like, I don't have time, but I need to do it, so I'm just going to do it this way really quick, and I'll come back to it when I can. And people know it's me. That's the thing now, is everybody's just like, okay, nice. Makes sense. But yeah, no, practice your design systems. Just learn. And design systems can't be learned as simply as like a couple YouTube videos, because they're so in depth and there's so much to them. Yes, you can do like the YouTube design system for dummies or whatever video you can find. They will explain it enough, you kind of start to get the hang of it, but nothing beats actually learning how to do it or things about it. That's the other thing, is it's very abstract at points. Like, your company might use it differently. Your purposes for a design system might be completely different than mine. And we're doing a cross-disciplinary design system. So it's not just for designers, it's for the company. And so far it's been beneficial. That's another note to make, is it's a product. Your design system takes so much time and resources away from a project because it's normally more than one designer to do it. But if one person is working on it, that is basically their life for a minute. Like that's what they're doing. So if you have the extra resources to do that and you have the time and you don't need them anywhere else, that's a really good thing to do. Is if they're interested in design systems, build one, then start.
It has massive long-term payoffs. You save a massive amount of time and confusion.
I just explained to a stakeholder the other day, I was showing him through our Figma design system because I had him in there. He wanted to see some designs I needed okayed by the collective stakeholders. And I took him through Figma, and he's like, he saw how everything was organized and all the stuff next to it. And then I was showing him some other stuff, and he's like, wow, this is great. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't even finished. Like, and then I showed him another page that was just like a bomb exploded in the middle of there. And I was like, you have to do this for every single piece. Otherwise, we're going to have days like today where you're confused about something. And now I have you here explaining something to you and showing you a couple things. And then he realized the amount of time that goes into them. But he also realized that anytime we've had a new feature now, it's as simple as going into the design system for a designer or in Figma at that point, because you have everything as an asset. And you just drag and drop new features because the product is the same product. You now have a new problem you have to solve, but you have the look, you have the feel. It's going into the same product. So you shouldn't really change any patterns. Everything should be the same. So a design system speeds up productivity immensely. And as a new designer, you'll find that a design guide and UI kit will speed up your work exponentially. However, it's not yours. And if that's what you want to do is build yours, be prepared to like just invest time. It's not something that can be done overnight. So don't be deceived. It's not that easy. And I don't know how many conferences and stuff I've done for design systems now. And every time I never don't learn anything. I learn something new every time.
And I'm sure we're going to learn more. I'm sure we'll attend at least 1 or 2 talks on design systems at Config.
Oh yeah, that was my main focus right now is everything design.
I saw at least like 5 talks on design systems.
No, it's growing. It's a huge, like a lot of the conferences I've attended. There was another one put on by the same person, and it was full like within a few hours. I'm like, holy cow! Okay, now I really have to be on top of things, or I'm never getting into some of these things anymore. But luckily, design systems. There's a few really good names out there. I already mentioned one, and if you want to learn, just follow these people, or just go check out material they've done or things they've published, and you will learn a lot. It's crazy. Yeah. So you got to pick though. You can't do it all. You can't be the UX, UI, everything and do a design system. It just doesn't work. So, I mean, you can. It's just going to take a lot of time. So,
yeah. Like I might even be able to. I might potentially have time to build one if I wasn't also a developer.
Yeah. See,
that's where most of my time is developing stuff.
If you're not designing, you're messing with the development, and like, where is the extra time? That's your weekend time at that point. Like,
I was logged in for about an hour and a half before we started recording. This is Sunday. We record on Sundays, and I did a lot of work yesterday too because something blew up.
We did.
I don't really have the weekends.
We did a sauna day today, and didn't have our children at home because obviously we were gone anyway. But otherwise, if I'm not doing something specifically for myself, for example, even at the sauna today, we were sitting and I was like super peaceful and everything was great. And all of a sudden I'm like, started thinking about the design system. I'm like, okay, I can get home and actually get this done. Wait, did I do that last week? And where's this organized? And does that make, like, it just starts. And immediately my wife saw me go in my office when I got home. I'm like, no, it's the podcast tonight. And she's like, oh, okay.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, that's fine. But
oh well. Yeah, I'm gonna get to a design system one day.
For you,
it'll take a while though.
Nah, I think for you it's nice because you're using plugins. Yeah, they all kind of have their own styles anyway.
Mm, yes, but I can quite often heavily edit the visuals of the elements from the plugins.
Are you using a specific UI kit right now?
No. It's just every style that my boss had already built out before I got in.
Okay, so you just took what he has, but that's actually nice. That's kind of nice for you, especially as the developer, because you really know what is doing what. I would just say anytime you have downtime at work, like if you finish working on a feature or finished doing something design side, your next design side time should be just adding a couple descriptions.
In case anyone is listening and not watching, I'm shaking my head no. I do not have extra time.
It's impossible, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's why I was super happy when Nerea jumped in, because I was like, okay, I hired you for a reason, and it's because I'm about to offload some stuff on you so I can get some things done.
Yeah, that's nice. That's how my boss felt when I came around, with how I'm also answering support tickets. And
oh man, that's a time suck right there, is support tickets.
Yeah, half of them are like, hey, this is for the tool support. You need to contact your actual school that you use us through to answer that question. I'm glad that is the most common type of problem.
Is it not? Or is the problem? Are they contacting you because it's not clear though? Is that why? Or are they just clueless?
It could be either one. My cat's going in and out from under my desk trying to eat all the wires because she's hungry.
Oh my god!
So
if you see smoke, just
yeah. If my voice disappears from the episode, that's as well. That's why. So in case you don't know as a listener, my company is like a career services platform. We partner with boot camps and universities to try to help those student success teams like keep all of their relationships with their job seekers or their students all in order, a place to keep everybody's job seeking information and materials, a bunch of stuff. Coaches can request changes on their job seekers materials, stuff like that. And one big feature is that when you're still in your program or your school, you are marked as a student. When you graduate, your career coach is responsible for changing you over to job seeker. But most people will graduate and then try to click the update button themselves, and then it doesn't do anything. And then they message us. So there are absolutely a few things we could be doing to iron that out. I have other fires to put out at the moment.
that's always how it goes.
Yeah. Or other things I could do that are more in line with the product and the revenue of the company.
See, so,
it's rough.
I'll throw in one last thing. It has nothing to do with design systems. Do you find that that's very presented in a boot camp? Is like, yes, your user is the target person that you are designing for, obviously, but along with that, like, it is my job to make something for this company, and because that is my job and they're paying me to do this thing, I do require that my company makes money. Like this, yes. It's all for the user or nothing. Like at some point you do work for a company and they do have goals also. So yours might be to build design systems, but you'll never get to build a design system if your company is not making money.
Yes. The exact model is B to B to C. So we actually partner with and get actual revenue from the boot camps and universities, and we do most of our communicating with the career coaches and the student success teams. And then we also have all of their students or job seekers in our database so they can hold all their stuff. But we want to make sure that the job seekers actually want to use the platform and it's easy enough to use, so that they stay, so that the career coaches stay, so that the paychecks come in.
Yes.
So it's making everybody happy, and it's hard. And sometimes you have to make the decision of, like, what audience do I help right now? Do I help my admins, my career coaches, or do I help job seekers and career changers? Of course, you want to help everyone. There's some famous, or maybe slightly less than famous, situation that I think eBay wrestled with, either eBay or Amazon. There came some demand from the users. I forget if it was the sellers or the buyers, but one group was angry and they were requesting some sort of change. And I think it was eBay. They had to really look at their whole model, how they make money, how everybody on the platform makes money and gets their services. And they realized, like, you know what, I have to help the sellers on this situation, because if the sellers get angry, they will leave the platform and then there will be nothing to buy. So then the buyers leave the platform. So I have to help the sellers in this instance. And I have to tolerate the situation in which the buyers are a little bit frustrated. So I kind of get a mini version of that every day. It's a hard situation to deal with.
You can have the best product in the world, but if the people who are the ones responsible for keeping that thing going, then the ones who just happen to be a secondary user at that point is suffering, because there's nothing happening with it anymore. Our company operates the same. We make a software that companies purchase, and then they use that software for their clients. And so at some point you have to think, okay, I want them to have the easiest time using it and the most useful uses for this product. However, is it also helping the people that are buying it from me? Like, if they're not buying it, then I don't have to design for a secondary user anyway. Like, an end product user, I don't have to design for, because the people who are actually buying the initial product are not buying it. Yeah. But it's
hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's always user first. Yeah, like it's that's the saying. And honestly, it's ideally, yeah, but I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it and say, oh, I never do anything strictly for the business, because that's kind of part of my job. Like, that's why I'm there, is to make the company successful,
so that you can earn a paycheck and feed your family. Like,
yes, like, how great is it to go to sauna? Well, so it's it's one of those. But yeah, I just wanted to ask, because I know I see it all the time. There's a lot of people who are very diehard user first. And while it is very nice I believe I'm being user oriented. Like, I believe that's who I'm solving a problem for. But I also believe that to solve a problem for them, I need to have a product to sell to them to solve that problem. Yeah. So, double-edged sword, as they say.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if you have more questions, we can do that. Otherwise, I'm going to cut it off at the moment. And we can...
I think I need to watch a couple YouTube videos about design systems and get back to you.
Yeah, and if you, or again, anybody listening has questions, I'm more than happy to talk about design systems. I could literally talk to you probably for 3 or 4 hours about it. And it's there's a lot to it. But no, it's one of my favorite subjects. I was super excited that it was on tonight, but it's so deep that, again, we'd be in trouble for time. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, then I guess I'm going to sign us off and check out Wednesday's episode for Out of Frame. If you have been listening to them, I hope you're enjoying them. If not, I actually noticed the other day one had more downloads than our normal episode did.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I'll have to figure out which one.
I'll text it to you in a little bit. It's
nice.
It's on there. It was funny. I laughed. I was like, wow, okay. So it was Helldivers. It was the Helldivers episode.
Yeah. Do we just talk about Helldivers now? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's Out of Frame Helldivers Weekly.
That's so good.
All right. Well, then, for the rest of our night, have a good one.
Bye.